What's up, everybody? My name is Brazil, and welcome to my podcast. This one has a really fun energy because it is with comedian Eric Schwartz. Now, if you guys know me, you know I'm a big fan of the comedy world, and I'm also a big fan of hip-hop music, and this guy shares my passion for both. He is a deep hip-hop head and really into comedy as well. Obviously, he's a comedian. He's got his own special coming out soon. I've seen it at the Comedy Store, a bunch of other awesome places. And I just love the energy exchange that we have. We really went deep into our passion for the art, our passion for self-help, our passion for energy, how to command a crowd, the art of speaking, how to really take the energy you have, take the fun that you have, and share it with the crowd, like an MC does for hip-hop, like a comedian does in what they do. I think this is a nice hybrid of those two passions. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you're going to love this podcast. So enjoy my interview with Eric Schwartz. What's up?
What's up?
Eric Schwartz?
Yeah. You got that off my social media handle. Eric Schwartz? Because Eric Schwartz was taken, so I had to add a couple of stutters at the beginning, like a scratch.
Is the other person with Eric Schwartz, are they even like a real account, or is it just like some random?
It's been a while since I looked it up, but it's one of those where the guy's not even using it, and he's just like, it's like, come on, man, don't squat on my name.
Right?
Yeah, it's probably not even an Eric Schwartz.
There's like a whole industry of that, of squatting on names for social media handles and for websites. Like people just buy up keywords and then sell them later.
I think for somebody's name, I thought it was illegal to do that. Like if you're like Tom Cruise or something, if somebody had his thing, then he might be able to like legally lay claim to it.
Right, because maybe he's made it into a brand or a trademark or something.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, he's pretty popular, that guy.
What do you want your name to represent?
Oh, well, I have a logo that I made, so I guess that would be what it was representing. But my representation in the logo, I have a lightning bolt that goes through it.
Okay.
And to me, it's like positive energy. I want to bring energy. When I'm performing, you see the energy. But I put the positive energy. And sometimes, like, I love lightning bolts because sometimes I'll even wear, like, a Chargers hat. And people, like, attack me for wearing the Chargers hat. Oh, Chargers suck. And I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about the team. I'll take your word for it. They go, well, why do you wear the hat? I'm like, dude, I like lightning bolts. Like,
yes.
My favorite player on the team is the graphic designer.
Well, life is about energy, right? And the energy we bring to things. True. I love that comedy is an entire industry focused on bringing the energy of happiness.
Yeah.
Like, that's the product.
And the thing is, there's a whole spectrum of it. How to bring the happiness. There's a people that are very dark with how they're going to switch the darkness to happiness, and there's people that are light and silly and positive on stage that also bring happiness. So there's many ways to bring it, and I don't think either way is right or wrong. It's just depends on the person.
Now, you mentioned earlier, you don't smoke, right?
No, but I don't smoke. Because there was a lighter here.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, people are gonna think that I toke up. And no, I actually do a thing about that in my show that I don't know what it is. Like, I think that the DARE program just worked on me. Like, I never got into it. Like, I never did weed, and you could tell that I don't do weed because no one who does it says they do weed. I know that. It's take pot. I know that. But no, a lot of my friends do. I know some people that are very close to me that work in the industry. So I am a proponent of it. I just have never done it. I used to DJ in Jamaica.
No shit.
And I never tried it. I think I got hotboxed, though. Because I was in the DJ booth and people were smoking in this guy brought a joint, I'm not even kidding, like the size of a double cigar.
Right, like those thick ones.
Like a dill, like almost like a huge dill pickle. And this guy was like, he looked like he had a broken limb wrapped in gauze, but it was weed. And he was smoking it. I'm like, dude, that's the biggest joint I've ever seen.
Now, you DJ as well?
I used to, yeah. That's how I started.
Okay.
I spent my bar mitzvah money on DJ equipment.
No shit. What made you want to do that?
I was into hip hop from a young age. In Los Angeles here, there was a radio station called K-Day, which is now a newer station on FM, but back in the day it was AM radio, 1580 AM. And where I lived in Thousand Oaks, which is just on the outskirts of Los Angeles, it would come in like at night, and when there was rain clouds, because that's how AM amplitude modulation works, and it can travel further. So my brother and I loved hip hop, and this was kind of like at the emergence of hip hop. And we loved that, and we became break dancers like in our neighborhood.
Shit.
Yeah.
What were some of the first hip hop acts that you liked?
We were really into like Run DMC. Actually, when Run DMC was like really first getting started, there was like breakdance music where you didn't even really know the artists, but stuff like Planet Rock, Africa Bambaataa, Soul Sonic Force.
But you seem like you're my age. That was
Yeah. Oh, dude, I stopped aging when I was 32. No. How old are you?
33, actually.
Oh,
yeah, so you
that's
nailed
when
it.
I stopped aging.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little older than you.
Wow.
But yeah, so
I thought I listened to old school hip hop because I like Jay-Z and like his stuff from the
come
90s.
on.
I like Reasonable Doubt. That's like old school for me. You're talking
that's-
African Bambaataa.
yeah, we liked all that stuff. We break danced. That's how I lost my hair, head spinning. No, I was kidding. And then like what we really got into like was like when hip hop kind of exploded. The first explosion, like right on the beginning of what's called the golden age hip hop.
What would you
So, like,
consider golden age?
88 to 94, I guess, is what is considered golden era.
We're
golden
talking like
age.
Digital Underground. And
Yeah, Digital Underground, Tribe Called Quest. But before that was like Salt and Peppa, Run DMC was, even before that. But like Kid and Play. So it became like pop.
Yeah.
That's not really, I don't know if you would consider that poppy stuff. Like,
But it was pop then.
it was pop then. Yeah, it became, it was when hip hop crossed over to the mainstream. It was a cool phenomenon because it was like, we never thought of it as like, oh, look at those pop artists. We were like, oh, we made it. Our music made it.
And you saw from the perspective of like California,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, all these acts that you're talking about, aren't they New York artists or mostly like Run?
Most of the hip hop was coming out of New York at that time.
But was it like playing heavy here? Like, how did it make its way to a young Jewish kid?
Yeah, exactly. So this is how the K-Day was a station in LA, and that's where we started hearing it. But then the way I got into DJing was I was always into hip hop culture, and they had DJs, right? In hip hop. So we were like, oh, DJs are cool. Like DJ Jazzy Jeff was the beginning of the golden era. They had an album before the Parents Just Don't Understand album called He's Just DJ, I'm the Rapper, called Rock the House, which a lot of people discovered after that album because that was their first album. But DJ Jazzy Jeff, we love Jazzy Jeff, and we're like, oh, I want to DJ one day, my brother and I. And so my dad had a clothing business. It was like a store on wheels.
Okay.
A clothing truck that he would go around to office buildings. This is like the most Jewish thing ever.
Instead of an ice cream truck, he had a T-shirt, like a screen printing truck
No,
or
it was like
something?
ladies' clothing.
No?
It was like office wear. So he'd go around to like real estate offices. And this is before like Ross Dress for Less was like a huge thing in every town.
Yeah.
But he was offering like discount office wear to women, and they'd come out in their lunch break or their coffee break. They'd shop, go try it on in their office, and then they'd buy from him. And so to sell some of the stuff he couldn't sell during the week, he would go to what's called the swap meet. Do you know what the swap meet is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we would go to the swap meet called the Rhodium, which is here in LA, in Gardena. And we would sell clothing there. And right near our stand was a place called Rhodium Records. They would blast this music, hip-hop, all day. And they were playing from this mixtape. Like they were selling records, tapes, and they had their own mixtapes that were created by a guy named Tony A. and Dr. Dre.
And we're talking about mixtapes, cassettes.
Cassettes, yes.
Yeah.
So, but the second name I said,
Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre. The Dr. Dre.
You're talking about mixtapes of Dr. Dre before he was Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
As in like early days DJ Dr. Dre.
Yep.
Wow.
And that is where Rhodium and Tony A. and he kind of collaborated on a lot of stuff too. Tony A. is a legend. And he would break NWA music, I believe, through those mixtapes. So that's kind of how it became. And I would get my records I started buying records from Rhodium Records. They would kind of advise me on like, oh, this is the new thing. So then I'd bring it back to Thousand Oaks, which is the suburbs. And this like Jewish kid was like the first like DJ tastemaker of the town or something, you know. So
So first you were like a consumer of the culture, and you were the
Yes.
one just telling your friends about it, like, yo, here's the newest music.
Yeah.
And then how did it transfer to you actually spinning?
actually doing it, actually spinning. So like I said, around my bar mitzvah time, I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna have some money. I want to buy these turntables because I've always wanted to DJ, listening to hip hop. I'm like, okay, that's the culture, right? You dance, you rap, you beatbox. I was a beatboxer from early on because I listened to the Fat Boys, and I'm like, I'm gonna do this. My glasses would get all the kind of spit on them because I was beatboxing, right? And so so we started DJing. I spent the money from my bar mitzvah, and I started DJing and trying to get gigs, right? So my friend would be having a party, and I'd be like, oh, let me DJ your party. Or like somebody's sister was having their Sweet 16. We had a teen center in town. And this was my first failure, huge failure as a DJ, but also my biggest success. So what happened is we talked ourselves into like, or we talked the people who hired at the teen center into giving us a chance at DJing a dance. And this is like in a huge like basketball gym. And we didn't have the equipment for it. Like
Right.
we had like 2 little speakers and like these what are called belt drive turntables, which are not sturdy and they'll skip if they get vibrated enough. And then we had like just homemade amplifier, which is like a stereo receiver that you're not supposed to use for big applications. So needless to say, about 15 minutes in the show, our music turns off because we're trying to pump it too hard in this huge space. They call the DJ that they normally book, who's this guy, Scott Pinestri, and he had his business called Audio Fetish, right? He comes down, he sets up all his amazing gear.
Right.
It's like top-notch stuff. And he goes, all right, go ahead and DJ. I'm like, what? You're not gonna, this guy was the nicest guy. And he let
Instead
me,
of him taking your spot, he brought you the gear.
He brought me the gear and let me DJ the gig.
Wow.
And that was the biggest success because he became like my mentor. And so I eventually took over his business. He taught me like how to do things. He got me like, he let me use equipment when I needed it. And yeah, I mean,
What a blessing.
it was such a cool thing. We are friends to this day.
How old were you when you met him?
I was probably 14, 15.
And at this point, did
Yeah.
your parents think it was just a phase and at some point you were going to get a real job?
Probably.
What was the plan at that point?
Yeah, they probably thought it was a phase, but they were really supportive. I mean, they let me when Scott was going away to college, he wanted somebody to take over his business, and he asked me to do it. So my parents agreed to let us put all of his gear, which was like, I mean, like this was like a warehouse worth of gear in our garage.
Wow.
We had to get a security system. We had to like sign a contract with him that I'd pay him every month for the rental. And he would like let me have all the business that he already had. And so, yeah, my parents, like, I'm real lucky. Like most entertainers don't have supportive parents. A lot of them don't. And I've had like the most supportive parents.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you then end up going to college?
Yeah, I went to college, same college as Scott actually. So we were kind of there at the same time because he was an engineer and I was a journalism major, and engineering takes way longer than journalism. Yeah, we went to the same college, and I was still DJing through there. And then as I got rid of the equipment, but I was still DJing, and I got to DJ for other companies. I started getting hired for like entertainment industry parties. I would do like where we are right now.
Yeah.
Is like right around the studios where I used to DJ, the WB, DreamWorks. I used to DJ for them. I DJ'd at some. I had to sign NDAs for some of the people's houses that I.
That's
spun
amazing.
For, but one of the houses or one of the parties that I did was at the time like every A-list celebrity was there, and it was unreal.
So this is all while you're going to school to be a journalist. What happened with that?
Yeah, so I had ethics, and I was like, I had the ethics class. I'm like, yeah, I can't do this. I can't.
What's an ethics class?
Ethics meaning like that you ethically like to tell the stories that you're supposed to tell just the facts. You're supposed to be objective. You're not supposed to insert any opinion, which nowadays like everyone does.
Right.
And it's impossible to not inject some kind of opinion into your reporting. So, and also like I started doing comedy in college, so it kind of all blended together. As I was DJing, I was watching Saturday Night Live. I was just really into entertainment. I loved stand up. I would recite comedians' routines to my friends in the swim team, and they were like, "Dude, you should be a comedian." And so
you were already used to kind of playing with that energy, and I'm sure as a DJ, you were on the mic, right? You were hyping up the crowd, so you liked that feeling.
Exactly. So I was able to like get on the mic, and we would play the same songs over and over and over, and so I started making up new words to them, and that kind of got me into what early in my comedy career I was known for doing parodies. So that came from that for sure. So just like. We were entertaining, not only like entertainment industry parties, but I would have to do things where like bar mitzvahs and weddings,
right?
Where you got to get people going.
And that goes back to energy.
Right.
What you said earlier.
Right. Yeah. You got to pull them. So yeah, when I'm doing stand up, a lot of times I'm borrowing from a lot of that stuff I used to do when I was DJing, where I look at the crowd as like, okay, I got to rock this crowd. What song am I going to play? It's almost like, what bit am I going to do?
Yeah.
What am I going to follow it up with that's going to make sense?
Because you have like your known bangers. You have the ones that are like, oh, this one's a little iffy. You have the experimental ones, right? It's kind of the same process as a DJ. I'm sure as a DJ, you had your go-to songs like...
Yeah, for me, it is. I don't know about for other comedians. For me, it's like I'm playing a set. I'm playing a DJ set, but it's with my words and ideas. And I actually do music, so it's very similar. I just do musical comedy.
It's interesting, though, that the process of making an album in music is so different than in comedy. Because in comedy, you tour it first, and you make the album last via the special.
That's
true. In music, you make the album first, and then you tour it. It doesn't change.
That's so true.
Very, very, I can't, like, maybe Kanye recently with his Donda albums, where he was releasing, like, a rough draft and then making it better every other week.
Yeah.
But mostly it goes the opposite way.
I would encourage musicians to do it like comedians then, because... you learn so much about your song by getting the feedback from the audience.
Yeah.
Like I've had songs that I'll go do and like the first version of it is way different from the version I do now.
Well, absolutely. And, and I can imagine too, because you can't control who's in the crowd. You can choose even which club you go to, but ultimately they're not, even if it's a predominantly this kind of person club.
Yeah.
Anybody could walk into a club, right? So I think when you go out and you throw out your sets and your new bits, you're really testing them. You're really running them through field study.
For
right?
sure.
So by the time you take it to a big stage,
Yeah.
You've done it to a conservative audience, you've done it to a liberal audience, you've done it to this, to that. You're like, okay, you know the sweet spot, right?
That's definitely the luxury, I think, of comedy, is that we can go up many times a week for whatever length of time, work on whatever we want to work on, and then hopefully improve it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely like you're always in that like R&D stage, research and development stage.
Yes.
And then the special is like, let it all go and like have fun. And that's what I'm working on now. I'm doing my second special.
You're filming in August, right?
Filming in August, yeah.
At the Avalon?
Avalon in Hollywood.
Dude, that's a nice venue.
Yeah, it's 13 LED screens. And that's the reason I'm doing it there, because this is a multimedia show where now I've started doing visuals with the music.
So you'll say something, you mean with your comedy?
Yeah. So it's like a combination of stand-up, a concert, and now kind of like EDM with the visuals. So it's like visuals that will support what I'm saying in the song, and I also am doing just straight up stand-up with visuals. So like
visual aids, like cut to a meme or
kind of, yeah, like I do a whole bit on fonts.
Yeah.
So it's real helpful to see the fonts that I'm talking about.
Did you ever see that SNL skit about Papyrus?
Yes. And I started doing my bit before that. So Lauren, if you're watching, I didn't bite your style.
Okay.
But if you like that bit, then you will definitely like the bit that I'm doing.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Now, how do you practice something like that? Because most of the clubs, like Laugh Factory, Comedy Store, they don't have any screens.
Right.
So is this going to be your first run?
No. I've done it many times. So, yes, when I'm doing like a set around town in LA, it's a lot harder to do it. But there are many venues like, on the road, and especially when I'm headlining, I'm doing like a longer set, 60 minutes. And a lot of them have video screens. A lot of the new improvs out of LA have LED video walls.
Got it.
Which is like, I love those LED walls.
Me too. I used to make visuals for artists, so I love
really?
that. And I love, like, because there's some of the LED walls that have the pixels closer together, so you can put more detailed stuff. Some are further apart, so it's more about putting a vibe. Like, it's nice. The right kind of visual on an LED wall can really change the vibe of a set.
That's literally what I'm working on right now, and it's like, the pain and struggle of this is overwhelming. Like, I haven't done this before. It's like you hate it in the moment, but when you're done with it, you're like, yes, dude, I did it. I grew. You know what I mean?
What day is the show? Is it on the 21st of August?
Yeah, August 21st, yeah.
I know, dude, we got to set tickets aside for that. I would love to come check it out, man.
Sure.
Because I love seeing things like that. I love comedy in general, but especially multimedia things. Like, because it adds another layer to it, right? Like, not many comedians use multimedia stuff. Like, Kevin Hart, maybe? Who else?
Like Dimitri Martin has done some stuff. Bo Burnham did some stuff, like projection stuff on his Inside special, which is genius.
That's a whole other masterpiece.
That's a different thing that I'm doing, but he's awesome.
Would you consider then what you're doing? Not to cut you off on the Bo thing, because he is. I think that special wasn't. I used to always say you can't make a hit video special by yourself in a room the way you can make a hit album in a room, but he kind of proved that wrong.
He's just,
because I used to be like, no, you need a budget to do a movie on Netflix, but an album you could just do in your closet. It's like, no, it turns out you could do a video special too. Yeah. But do you think that the multimedia comedy that you're doing would be considered a different genre than, quote, regular stand-up?
Yeah, but I mean, so is dark comedy, and so is physical comedy. And I kind of feel like, okay, we have all this stuff at our disposal. Why not use it? Like, that's kind of where I was. And then who knows, maybe my next special will be just me and a mic.
Right.
But I've seen people do things on specials that they wouldn't maybe normally do in a club. Like Neil Brennan had one called Three Mics,
yeah,
which is awesome. And you wouldn't necessarily do this. More like it's kind of like a presentation, like a one-man show type of deal. So I kind of think that there definitely will be people that watch my special and they go, "Oh, this isn't stand-up," and I already know that. I already know, but
you can't please everybody. So you might as well just do your thing.
The thing is, as long as you're doing what's true to you, that's all you can do. And so if there's criticism, it's like, okay, cool. So you want me to do something that that you do? You would rather me do it how you do it. It's almost like what it is ultimately is a reflection on themselves. I didn't come up with this. Everyone tells me that it's a reflection on themselves of like they can't do what you're doing, and so they're like mad at it because they can't do it. But look, I'm mad at them too because I can't do certain things that other comedians do, and so I think like the one that gets the most hate is Carrot Top, and
he does stand up.
Yeah, he does stand up.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's prop comedy.
Oh,
and so because he uses props, people hate on that, and I guarantee you,
by people you mean the comedy community?
Yeah, a lot of he's like the most hated on, but most of those people, I guarantee you, have never seen him perform. I haven't seen him yet, but I don't hate on him. But
yeah, because everything can sound whatever in theory till you see it kill in a real room. When it kills in a real room, you're like, oh, okay.
And it's like there's an audience for what any comedian's doing. If you see them having an audience, then there's a need for that comedy.
And if it's funny to you, right? Because I feel like the best art almost has to be slightly selfish for the artist in that it should be pleasing to you.
Right, exactly.
And the more specifically pleasing it is to you, from you to you, there's somebody out there that can tap into that and relate to it. They'll be like, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking, right? But when you try to make it about what you think they're going to like, then it's not really authentic to anybody. It might as well just be polarizing and have it be your style.
Yeah, I think there's a balance of that, though, because you also can't, I feel like you can't just be self-indulgent. You have to be able to relate to the audience. So there has to be some kind of a consideration of the audience, too. So Otherwise, it won't relate to them. So I feel like it has to come from a truth in yourself. You have to, I think, the pleasure that you're talking about, like it has to be pleasurable to you to perform it.
Yeah.
You know, like, so you have to enjoy performing it, but then also keep in mind the audience, because that's who it's designed for and who's going to relate to it.
Right. You can't ignore them completely.
Right.
Otherwise, you might as well just do a Zoom show, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
what is art without an audience?
right.
You know, the tree hasn't fallen in the woods. You know, does it make a sound? It's the same. It's like, what is art without the audience? They're the receivers.
That's a good point. That would be like a DJ just going up and just playing whatever they wanted and not listening to the crowd at all. People are stopping and dancing and they're still like hitting the same thing. It's like, yeah, it has to be what you want, but in a collaborative rhythm with the audience.
And there are DJs that do that. There are DJs that are like, but it's a different dynamic. They're not going to be hired to do a club night to get people dancing.
Yeah.
They're there for watch me DJ. They're more like watch the skills that I have.
I miss those kind of DJs.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There was this one, I don't want to name him, but there was a DJ opening for a very famous comedian.
Uh-huh.
And his name kind of sounds like what experience he gave us. He gave us a very, like, let's say, traumatic experience in that he kept setting up tracks, and right before the best part, he would just start talking and offbeat transition to the next one. And we were like, ah!
Was
like,
his name DJ Clue?
No.
Sorry, Clue, if you're out there.
No, but let's just say it happened continuously. And I was like, wow, is it like, am I missing a different brand of DJing, or is he just that bad? Just like not.
Was he doing it ironically? Or no,
it would have to be a 30-minute long ironic set of just like every time, like the best part's about to come. And he's like, who's ready to see the main act tonight? And offbeat transition. Yo, Spotify has like a 90s hip hop playlist that they made that has an auto transition.
Oh, okay.
Not just a 2-second blend from song 1 to song 2,
yeah,
but like as it's fading out song 1, it drops on the downbeat of song 2, maybe like a bar or two into it or something. And they've never talked about it. Nobody's ever talked about it. It's just a feature I just saw. It just has. It's like I love 90s hip hop or something.
You just talked about it.
Yeah.
DJ AI. Like, so they're going to put DJs out of commission, out of business.
Well, I feel like, yeah, I could see it happening, right? Because if you just set like a pre-point of like saying, hey, when we go to this song, drop it here. When you leave this song, leave it there. And you put those marks on all the songs in the playlist. Yeah. I guess an AI could.
Yeah. I mean, then it's the programmer who would be the DJ, you know, programming the music, what's coming next. So, I always used to, when I would be interviewed for like, can you do my party? Like being considered to do a party. I would, I think it's important, like as far as the DJs out there, they're very valuable. If you have a DJ for your party, it's like, that's the main thing. It's like the atmosphere of your party is going to be predicted by the DJ. It's going to be created by the DJ.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, what is your business of comedy? This is because a lot of the purpose and the mission behind this podcast is to capture, artists that are professional creatives, right? And I want to talk specifically you.
Okay.
What is your business of comedy? As in, like, what's like the financial model behind it, even, right? Like now, like, do you like not to give up, not to pry too much, but just like, how does it work for you?
Well, where I am right now, I'm self-funding my special.
Okay.
So right now I feel like the business model is don't be afraid to spend money. Meanwhile, you are afraid. And you got to keep telling yourself, this is going to pay off. You have done your work. You're going to be prepared, even though it doesn't feel like it right now. But you're going to get your ass prepared or else, because you put so much money. But what I did was, like, when I decided to do this, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to trust the universe. And I did it, and what happened was...
You're talking about self-funding the special.
Yeah, self-funding the special.
Okay.
Once I did that, the fear made me start acting differently, right? So I'm like, okay, I gotta finish these things right now.
It's a must now.
Yeah.
Now you're committed.
Right. I gotta become the organized person that I always wanted to be. That I always, like, when I journal, I get down on myself. I wish I was more organized.
You too?
Yeah, right? I wish I was more organized. And like now I'm like, oh wow, I'm like way more organized because I'm scared shitless that I'm gonna like if I don't, then I'm gonna be screwed.
Yeah.
So it puts the fire under your ass, dude. When you take that risk, whatever that risk is, it's like do or die, fight or flight. And
it's like you can read about swimming or you can jump in the ocean.
Right.
It's two different things when you have real consequences. I
Yeah.
think the real consequences of you putting your money on the line.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously different people have different levels of funds. If somebody's just starting out, they're probably not going to make a special. But taking some kind of a chance, some kind of a commitment that says, no, now you have to do it.
yeah.
Then there's no choice, right?
Yeah, like I on the advice of my friend Joe Coy, who I was opening for right before the pandemic, you know, he's a big proponent of bet on yourself. And he funded his first Netflix special.
Really?
Netflix said no many times, and he kept pressing. They always said no. He bet on himself, took his own money, made an amazing special, and then when he brought it to them, they eventually said yes.
He brought it to them finished. Like he
Yeah,
paid for the
finished.
production company, the shooters, and that's Joe Coy.
Yeah.
He
He was already
yeah,
he was already like a big deal before that. Like had done multiple Comedy Central specials, like late night shows and stuff like that.
Wow.
They said that they were not interested at Netflix, and he turned that no into a yes.
And is that are you going to self-release this special that you're filming?
We're gonna have to see if we're gonna shop it around. I'm not betting on.
So first you're filming it to capture it, to make it.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make it. Oh, by the way, that term, make it, is really important to me because when I did my first special, I was asking myself the question, when am I going to make it? When am I going to make it? And it's always stuck with me because I said, oh yeah, I have to make it. I'm the one who has to make the situation that I want. And that's ever since then, I've always said, okay, the ball's in your court. The power's in your hands. You have to make it.
Yes.
Nobody has the keys to making it.
It's
Only-
almost like it's in the word.
Yeah, it
like
is.
maybe we're hypnotized to thinking that making it means when is it going to feel like a lottery? Like, but in reality, it's like I put myself there. And it's like
Yeah.
you're literally taking responsibility for making it.
I have the closing of my special. I'll give you a little preview, but the closing of my special has a line. The closing piece has a line about making it, and I say that you ask yourself, when are you going to make it? And the answer's in the question.
True. Yo, that is such a simple reframe. And it's right there in the question.
Yeah. Refrain. I like that. That's in music, right? That's another hint.
Oh, I was thinking in psychology and framing it like the perspective of something. I guess reframe is a musical term, right?
Refrain, yeah. Reframe?
I was thinking reframe.
Oh, I was thinking refrain.
What does refrain mean
It's
in
like
music?
I really don't know. But it's like, I think it's like a repeating of it's a repeating a frame. Yeah. It's a repeating of one of those frames.
It's when one frame isn't enough.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know
You
what?
got to do that frame again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you see the special and you watch back this clip, it'll all make sense. And you'll be like, oh, shoot. When you reframe this clip.
Reframe the reframe.
Yeah, reframe and reframe this clip.
I really like that. When am I going to make it? The answer's in the question.
Yeah. Let's just take a moment.
Because really, the first iteration of that phrase sounds like, when am I going to be awarded validation?
Right. When is someone going to give it to me?
It's literally in the phrasing.
Yeah.
When am I gonna
make it? Yep.
Woo!
Hell yeah.
My God.
Breakthrough.
I don't care what they say about you, man. You're okay with me.
Thanks, man.
You know, who cares
What do they
about the
say
rumors?
about me, though?
You know?
No.
Allegedly.
What do they say?
Right?
What do you guys say? What do you say?
Do you ever listen to Tony Robbins?
You know what's weird is when we were saying that last little exchange, I was gonna say I'm the next Tony Robbins. I have listened to him. I feel like his voice is always like slowed down tape. Because his voice is like that. His voice is so deep. I think he's great. I do think he's great. But the one that like charges me up two things in that same vein of like self-help, transformational stuff. First of all, the book, The Artist's Way, has totally guided it's my Bible.
The Artist's Way?
The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
We got to make a note of that. Stevie, remember me? We got to research that one. The Artist's Way.
It's a book that you don't just read, you do it. It's packed with all kinds of writing exercises, and you do morning pages every day, 3 pages, free form, just let it flow. Don't censor yourself. And that's like becomes a ritual for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And then it helps you mine your past to be able to like figure out like why you think a certain way and then change it to what you want. And that's actually what doing that book for the first time, I've done it about 5-6 times. But the first time I did it, that's what put me on the path to the kind of show that I do now. Because I thought, like, what's the most fun show that I could do? And I was like, I wanted to feel like I'm DJing and I'm rocking the crowd. And I'm like getting that crowd onto that. Because when you see people dancing and they're in a state of elation where all their cares are gone, right? So I wanted to do a version of comedy that feels like that. So that's what informed that. Then the other thing that more recently that I just really love is, and I know a lot of people talk about this, and maybe I might sound a little cliche, but David Goggins.
Oh, yeah. Stay hard, motherfucker.
Dude, he's the best. I listened to his book, which you got to listen to it, not just read it, but the one on Audible.
Does he read it?
He has the ghostwriter that wrote the book reads it. But the way they do it, you get so much more content out of listening to this thing because it's almost like a podcast meets a book reading.
I love that because when it comes to books, I just do audiobooks.
Yeah, so there's in between on every chapter they discuss it and all this other stuff comes out.
They talk about the chapter together.
So it's like almost like a whole other book in between the book.
What'd you get from that?
Oh man, that lean into the pain. That things are supposed to be painful and hard, and you don't. If you feel like you enjoy that, if you can get your mind to a place of that you can enjoy the pain that is pleasurable to you, that you're like, yeah, bring it on. You can't hurt me. That's the name of his book, Can't Hurt Me. You can't hurt me. Then you're going to be able to use much more of your capacity as a human.
Yes.
He says that we only use a small portion of our pain threshold that we stop short. And you have so much more potential that you don't lock into.
It's almost like we condition ourselves to have a low threshold.
Yeah.
Right? Because whenever we
soft.
have pain, we go right into we don't let ourselves feel the pain enough to cause change. We stay in the middle ground.
Yeah.
Right? And that not too happy, not too sad.
Yeah.
But really, it's like feel the sadness all the way. It's like, fuck, I don't want to feel this again, so you can shoot back up, right? You have to be able to endure it.
Yeah.
What was one of your biggest challenges, setbacks? I know we all have many, but what was a situation particularly that set you back, emotionally or personally or career-wise or whatever?
I don't know if there was one incident, but I think what I struggle with probably the most is like trusting. Trusting like that things are going to be okay, that the decision to make my special was really hard for me to I guess it's like, you believe that everything's going to be okay, like by spending this money. So it took me a while to decide that. So like also trusting people, I think is hard for me, has been hard for me. And I hope I'm getting better at it. But I tend to kind of, my girlfriend says micromanage because I don't feel like I want to be involved in it. Like I want to make sure it's going okay. And I try not to do it. And I try to, when I'm working with people, I try to tell them like, look, I know that I have this problem. So if I'm getting too micromanagey with you, you just let me know.
Have you ever gone to therapy?
I have.
Have you guys ever looked into that?
I've never been. Oh, with me and my girlfriend?
No, looked into the not trusting.
Oh wait, this isn't therapy? I thought that's what I was here. No,
and how does that make you feel?
This isn't therapy. I have gone to therapy. I haven't had really good success with like person therapy, like with people. They always just like listen, and I download my brain to them for weeks, and then
They don't really give you
then
challenge.
They go, you do. They're like, well, what do you think? I'm like, nah, dude, that's why I'm here. What do you think? Tell me what to do. One guy fell asleep on me.
Did he really?
Yeah, in therapy. And I'm like, telling him, I'm trying to give him as much detail as possible. And then he's like, and I'm like, dude, this is my last session, bro. Because, yeah, that was, it's kind of rude.
Oh, shit.
But think about that. As a therapist, you got to listen to people's BS and all day.
Yeah,
And
I feel like I would be better off as like a coach than a therapist because I would want to offer solutions right away.
Yeah.
I would want to be like, so what do you want? Let's fix it.
I have had success with coaches, more success with coaches.
Same.
Yeah, like my cousins are coaches. They're married, and yeah, that's been, and actually through sports, like coaches, like I've learned so much from like my swim coaches and my and teachers. Like I had a really good teacher, professor in college that he was kind of like the Goggins of journalism.
The Goggins.
Yeah.
Stay ethical, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Stay objective. What are the facts?
Right. Stay factual. But he was like about hard work and stuff, and like you gotta like dig in, you gotta go beyond what other people are gonna do, and like be willing to sacrifice whatever. But so. Yeah, so I learned more. I think coaches are probably the way that I go. But unless I find a good therapist.
Yeah, I've only tried therapy a couple times, and it was the same thing, like just me downloading stuff to them.
Yeah.
But they weren't really challenging me. Like I just last year got like a success coach, so to speak, from the Tony Robbins company.
Yeah.
And
really?
basically what they do is they ask me like, what do you want? And why do you believe you can't have it? And let's go to work on it. We don't really talk about the past. We just talk about the future. And what tends to happen is the fact that I'm paying them makes me want to do it. It's really just leverage on myself because I know what I got to do. I just don't do it sometimes.
Yeah.
So the fact that I have a coach and I talk to, and then I'm like, hey, well, this is what I claim I want to do this next week. And we tend to talk about the threshold of my beliefs. Like, if I feel like I got work under control, but like my relationship is stressing me out, then we talk about that. And why would I believe this is stressing me? Or I feel the relationship is going good, but then this work thing is out of control. We kind of focus on wherever I feel like I'm losing control and losing hope in a particular area. And we try to demystify it. Like, why do I believe that can't work out?
That's cool. Yeah, like mapping your brain out. That's like,
yeah.
That's also a lot. The artist way does that.
That's what it sounded like it was.
Yeah. The 4 Agreements is another one.
Ooh, yeah, Don Miguel.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are the 4 agreements? It's be impeccable with your word.
Remember all of them.
Don't take anything personally.
Yeah.
Always try your best, and
yeah, I can only remember 3, and they're always different. Do your best. Be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because sometimes, we'll download, personal development things, self-help things, and they'll make sense intellectually, but then I go and live life and make mistakes again. And then at some point it clicks in. It's like, oh, that's what they were talking about, right? And then a few iterations later, then I go back to it and I'm like, got it. Because I feel like I always learn something intellectually first.
Yeah.
But then it takes a while for it to get into habitual practice, right? Like I understood money way before I had any. Like I've basically been broke most of my career up until very recently, and it's just like I was like a smart broke guy. And it was so weird, right? Being able to like hold court with somebody and be like, yeah, I understand finances, but negative in my account, you know what I mean? It's not until you're like evicted from the apartment and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Save money, motherfucker. Asset allocation. You know what I mean? Pay yourself first. And then the lessons really kick in because then I have an emotional reason to apply it. It's not just a theory of here's how you handle money well.
Right.
It's like actually do it.
That's weird. Like we both talked about the emotional reason to change.
Yeah.
Right. Like those, you gotta like give yourself stakes almost. Right. Like I spent money more than I was comfortable with, and that gave me the stakes to change my behavior to be able to finish this special. And you with your finances, you were like,
oh shit.
Yeah. You were like, oh shit. So
I actually got to apply it.
yeah. So basically, what we're saying is it's all money inspired, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like I've had friends that were relatively irresponsible until they got their girlfriend pregnant.
Oh,
And then
right.
after they had a baby, they
Yeah.
just got their shit. They somehow made more money,
Right.
right? Because
It's
now they
those
have a
stakes,
reason.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. You got to have the reason.
Maybe deeper meaning comes from more responsibility,
Yeah.
right? Now you're responsible to delivering this great special.
Yeah.
Now it, financially,
Yeah. And
it's an imperative.
yeah. I got to do it.
So now excellence is a must,
That's true.
right?
So I got to always put myself in that. And this is the other thing what you're saying is like you learn the rules and then you went out and you did the same thing again, right? But like I think that's always going to be it. And what you were saying is like you make it habitual. It's like working out. You get stronger and stronger, right?
Right.
But I think like we as humans, we want to bring order to the chaos of the world. The world is like inherently chaotic, but we somehow are control freaks and we think we can control it.
Yeah.
But it's never going to be perfect. And as long as you can be comfortable with that, then I think you'll be a lot happier.
And finding meaning in it.
Yeah.
In like, for example, I did a shoot a couple days ago for one of the companies that I have is we sell online master classes with choreographers.
Okay.
And we have a couple different channels, one that's doing really well, one that's doing okay. And I haven't shot in this other one in a couple months, and I went back to shoot it, and I was like, oh, let's make it a half-day shoot. I was trying to be more chill about it.
Mm-hmm.
And during one of the master classes, I hadn't switched the battery out, and I was like, oh, we can last. This battery will last for the end of this take. And it was like a 30-minute take.
Okay.
At the very, very end, the battery went out.
Oh.
And I was like, I've been doing this for 20 years. What the fuck am I doing? Like, how did I, it's like, oh, I didn't stick to my standards.
Yeah.
I treated this like it was just, oh, it's a chill shoot today. No, it's not, man. This is the real work. Like, go back to doing it the right way, you know?
Right.
It's like I have to remember to still take the process seriously, even though I've done it many times.
Yep.
You know?
It's with stand-up, it's the same thing. When you have a good set, you're kind of sometimes at danger in your next set because you have all this like, oh, I killed. And I've been in this situation where I killed the night before. And then the next night I got all this confidence and then I bomb because I didn't. Now I tell myself what I learned from that is you got to start from zero every time.
Yes.
You know, you didn't prove anything.
Yes.
You gotta give the same amount of force as you did the time before, if not more.
It's almost like there's an illusion that we have, like a mythical false belief that once a person makes it, they try less. And I guess in some cases that could work, right? Like maybe if you have many followers, you have more view, whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like I was watching the Michael Jordan documentary, and I'm not even a big basketball guy like that, right? But he worked his ass off. He was up before everybody, and he was Michael Jordan, and he was getting up at 4 and going to the gym and practicing and training his mind and everything. It's like even when he's already at that level, already one of the greats, already multiple championships won, he's like, no, now I'm gonna get up at 4 again. So I think as artists, we need to let go of this illusion that once we make it, it'll then be easy. You have to enjoy the hard now, like what David Goggins talks about.
Right.
Just find pleasure in doing it the right way.
Yeah.
Like
You're right.
in putting the process, right? Like how do you
Yeah.
properly prepare for something, not taking it for granted.
Right. You become comfortable with the hard work. Become comfortable with that hard work and love it. Love that it's hard. And so, yeah, that's what I want to keep on this journey where I am right now because it feels good.
That'd be a nice t-shirt. Love it when it's hard.
Or a nice pair of underwear.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So you're going to film the special.
Yeah.
Then you shop it. Do you have like a shopping person?
Do I have a shopping list?
Like, is there like a person whose job it is to shop it for you?
I don't. Maybe that person will appear. But I have some good relationships with people that I might be able to get it in front of the right eyes. If it doesn't go on a major streaming service, what a lot of comedians are doing right now, like great comedians with credits, they're just putting it on YouTube.
Yep.
Because
Mark Norman did a whole special on
Yeah.
YouTube, right? And that's how I found out about him. Yeah. Scholes built his whole thing up like that.
yeah, and the advantage of that is that you have more control over it. which I like.
Yes.
I like the I like the control, but also you can retain some of those people, like if they subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So now you kind of have a direct. I like email, even though.
It's good to have the email list.
Yeah,
because if your channel gets taken down and you didn't capture their stuff
Right.
into your MailChimp or whatever, then yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But at least you're connected on YouTube with them, and then you don't get buried. If you're an entity buys your thing, there's usually no guarantee that they're gonna show it.
Right. That could happen. Somebody could buy you and shelve you. Mm-hmm. Then all that work is gone for just the payout. Then you don't get the actual audience growth.
Exactly.
It almost makes more sense that, like, unless it goes to like a major streamer, that like YouTube would be better off.
Right.
In terms of expand, like a proof of concept. Like, look how many people are really fucking with me.
Right. Right. And then I believe, I don't know if this is true. I think Mark Norman or somebody that did really well with their YouTube special, I believe their next special will be on Netflix. I think it was Mark Norman.
Yeah.
But
and I just saw that Andrew Scholes just bought his back.
Oh.
He had made a special, did a deal with the streamer. I think it was Amazon. They haven't said. Amazon or Netflix. Like, the company paid to film it with the streamer's cameras and everything.
Okay.
And then when it came time for the edit, the streamer wanted to cut out a bunch of jokes.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
And then that's what he said publicly, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know him directly. This is just what I read, And then he spent a bunch of money to buy it back from them, and now he's just releasing it like for sale on like a website.
I saw that. Yeah.
Just solo, and it's like, I really hope that can open the door for free speech for comedy on these big platforms, because other than Dave Chappelle and Ricky Gervais, they don't really take a lot of chances. And I think that's mostly just because those are huge pre-established names. Mm-hmm. Like, Chappelle was the one pushing the furthest amount of like PC culture speech in his special, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I hope that the streamers will just start letting comedians do their thing.
Yeah, I mean, they have viewers and subscribers that they have to answer to, and
or that they're afraid of.
Yeah, that they're afraid of losing subscribers. So there's that dynamic, and I don't know. I mean, look at it from their perspective. Like, if you're like 20% of your subscribers leave, then it's like you lose money. So yeah, who knows? But I think that there's something to be said that for somebody like Andrew Schultz, who has the audience built in, and they're gonna do his promotion for him as well. They're going to additionally promote it. It makes sense if you want to be exact and crystal clear with what you're, with getting your act out there 100%, then yeah, that makes sense. And I think that the main, for comedians, the main financial benefit is not necessarily even in what you sell the special to for the network. It's in your ticket sales.
Right, it's what happens afterwards. It's because of the special, your next tour, you sell out more theaters, higher ticket price.
Right.
That's where the money comes in.
That's where you can monetize it in different ways. You don't have to even sell it. That's why people are putting it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes sense. And right now, when you travel and do shows, do you produce them too? Or do you just get booked out? Do you like producing?
You mean shows for when I go to tour shows?
Like comedy shows, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you ever organize the show, or do you just get booked to go play it?
Yeah, I'd say a variety of all of that stuff. I have been working without a manager or agent for a long time.
Really?
Because I've worked with some good, some not so good for me. And I just feel like at this point, I've had offers to go with certain people, and it just didn't feel right. So that's also another thing with this special, is that I just want to put out my vision, and then the reaction to it may lead me to whoever it is I'm supposed to work with. So I've been able to get this far for a lot of years on my own.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard, but it's also forces you to be more organized, I guess.
How did you work your way up to opening for Joe Coy, for example? right? Because like for
Well,
somebody
yeah.
who's like an aspiring comic out there, how do
Yeah.
they even get to that point?
Well, it's weird because like I never opened for anybody before. I was already headlining like my own shows in clubs, and
Oh, so that was how. So you were already building your name.
yeah. So so like you know, with my career, and I don't know if it's been the same with other comedians, but you know, it doesn't like just go on a straight up trajectory, right?
Right.
I feel like it's gone like up, but then there's been plateaus and short, and like I definitely am higher up than when I started or even 10 years ago. But there are times, you know, like back in 07, 08, I was the #1 comedian on MySpace
No shit.
because my videos they were featuring my videos. I was one of the first comedians, I guess, to do videos regularly.
Wow.
To release videos, a lot of like parody songs and like topical music videos.
Shout out to Tom.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, what up, Tom? By the way, I saw him riding his bike down the street near my house, and I said, "Yo, Tom, it's me, Eric Schwartz, the #1 comedian on MySpace." And he didn't acknowledge me. But yeah, so like, how do I get to opening for Joe Coy? Well, I actually knew Joe when we both kind of started in LA.
Really?
Like back in 03. And so, you know, we both have had our own trajectory, and I would run into him so many, because both live in Studio City, and I would just run into him like every so often. And we've always had a good rapport. And then one day I ran into him and he goes, "Dude, you should come on my podcast." I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be cool." So I like had to change a flight to do the podcast, and I did it. It was great. And then that kind of like kept us like talking a little bit more. And then one day I was doing a club called the Brea Improv, and they had a huge mural of this dude on the side of the building. And I'm like, "What the hell?" And I look inside, and they had another mural inside, and it said, "Congratulations, Joe Coy, for selling out 77 consecutive shows." I'm like, "What?" So like over the years, he's sold out that many. And
Wow.
now it's more. Now it's more.
Could you tell back then who was going to make it? Like looking back now at the people from that time that didn't make it, could you tell, or was it all up in the air?
Let me answer that, but I just wanted to finish the story about Joe Coy.
Okay.
So then I called him up. I like showed him. I took a video of that mural, and I sent it to him. He's like, "Dude, what's up, man? What are you doing tonight? Come do a spot on my show in Irvine." And I go, "I can't do it tonight." He goes, "Well, come tomorrow." So I go down to Irvine. I did a spot. I'm like, "Dude, this is the best audience. I love it. If you ever need me, you just let me know." And then I just kept doing it more and more. And then he brought me on tour for like 8 months before the pandemic. Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So went to like 7 countries. It was great.
So having relationships,
Yeah.
connecting with people,
Yeah.
helping people.
I was like,
Stay
"What are you looking
friends.
at?" "Oh,
Looking
these
at the
guys."
camera.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're looking
Yeah.
at the relationships. Okay. Yeah. Listen to him. But then could I tell who was going to make it? In a way, yeah. I just had like my favorites.
Are you surprised that the people who made it made it? I mean, that's a different way to put it. Maybe like,
Yeah, it doesn't really surprise me.
were there people that you thought were going to make it that didn't?
I can always you could always go back now and go, "Oh yeah, I see why that person made it. I see why that person got to where they are for sure." Yeah, there definitely would be people that I can't even think of one right now, but people
You don't
that
have to
I was
say
like,
names, but I mean
"Wow,
just in
they're
general."
awesome. I
Yeah.
can't believe. Well, you know what? One of them, and I wouldn't say he didn't make it, but I mean he's made it in his own right. He's hugely popular on the East Coast. But there's a guy named Bob Marley. He's a comedian, not the reggae artist, but Bob Marley.
Real name?
Yeah. Hilarious. One of the funniest comedians I would ever see. When I first started, I would watch him. It was the lineup every night at the Laugh Factory was him, Dane Cook, Jay Moore a lot of times, Carlos Oscar, and these guys would go up all the time and just crush. And Bob Marley was so funny, dude. And he was trying to get a sitcom. He's a comedian from Maine. He's
Okay.
he's a household name in Maine. And he was trying to do like a sitcom, and he gave himself like a set amount of time to do it, and then it didn't happen. He got like all these holding deals, and it didn't happen. So he went back to Maine with his family, and has a hugely successful career doing just theater shows in the Northeast and corporate shows.
And he's getting to do what he loves.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, if he would have stayed out here, would he have finally gotten that sitcom? I think he's undeniable. He's so funny. But like Dane Cook was my favorite comedian watching, that I would watch during that time, and I was like, this guy's hilarious. Like this is like late 90s. I was recording comedians for the radio. That was my job for a radio network, and he was like my favorite. I would watch him every night. And I actually ended up editing his first album.
No shit.
Yeah, the Harmful If Swallowed. No people don't know that. Because I'm not credited on it. But I edited. We went to in the studio, and we edited it together. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was cool to be able to work with like the guy at that time who was like definitely like my idol of comedy, because he was doing it differently than anyone else.
And I'm sure being in the room with other comedians too, you guys have a consistent like workshop, which is the comedy club, right? Like you get to do it, you test your jokes out, you see other people doing it, you get to tap into the frequency consistently, right? Especially with the more shows that you do.
Yeah, and
it's such a weird bag too, right? Like when I go to comedy shows maybe 3 or 4 times a month. Like I frequently go, and there'll be a mixture between like major acts and like somebody relatively up and coming who you don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it does really good for both of them.
To watch each other.
To watch each other and to feel it.
I always try to learn from, I always say like, you can learn from anyone watching them do comedy. If they're good, if they're bad, if they're new, if they're a veteran. I always just try to, when I watch, I go, oh, why did that work? Why didn't that work? What could have been done? How would I have done it differently in my voice?
Yeah.
So you just learn by just like analyzing it, which means that you have no fun watching comedy anymore. But hey,
Now I know that there are classes for improv, but there's no stand-up class.
There are.
There are?
Yeah.
Really?
There are. I think a lot of comedians would, they do, like shit on them. But I think there's a level of education you can get from a comedy class, and there's a level of education you cannot get from a comedy class, from a stand-up class.
Because there's a technical part of it, right? Like the setup, the tag, whatever, right? Like that I guess technically could be taught. But
Right.
you can't give somebody that magic, that spark to want to be on stage and share bravely.
Yeah, I think what you can give them is the technique. The technique of like what you
That's
said.
the word I was looking for, technique.
Yeah, technical stuff, technique, same word. But yeah, I think what you can give them that. You can, like also like just the etiquette of stand-up of like, put the mic back in the stand if you're hosting. And if you're hosting, ask the person their credits, or, they're like courtesy things that you do about how to act in a comedy club and how
Don't
to
steal
act.
jokes.
Right. Or don't steal jokes. Right. But there's, I think, the magic, what you're talking about is like that your point of view, only you can really create. Somebody can help you develop it, I believe. But I think like it has to come from you. Like that's what you can't really teach.
Yeah. I mean, you have to want to be on stage, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
You have to care enough to push through bombing.
Right. It's like a musician too. Like you can sing, and you can sing technically well, and you can hit every note. But to really like become that person that's magnetic that you can't stop watching, that has to come from that X factor.
That oomph.
Yeah, that like your passion. Because you've seen singers or guitar players or whatever who are like, you're like, yeah, they're hitting the notes, but you're like, so what?
But they're
It's
not.
that flair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That flair, you really can't be. Did you know you had a flair?
I mean, I guess I had to believe that I did. Yeah, because I wouldn't do it either. Anyway, I mean, I wouldn't do it if I didn't think that I had that thing. I get a charge of like from performing in front of people. I've always done it since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've always like since I was a kid, I would put on shows for my family, and so just that feeling that I get from being able to entertain somebody, like, yeah,
Sharing that joy.
Yeah.
When you get off stage, are you more energized? or are you tired when you get off stage?
Depends how it went, man. If it went well, yeah, I'm super energized.
Okay.
For about an hour. And then I was made fun of on the Joe Coy tour for every night at about midnight, you could almost like set your watch to it. I would start falling asleep. They called me C3PO because I would power down.
I mean, it's
like
not
a
a crazy time to go to bed.
No, but it's like once the endorphins wear off and then I relax.
It's almost like a crash. It's like
Yeah.
a caffeine crash or something. Yeah.
I definitely get that when I like, okay, cool, it's over. And then my mind turns off and then I'm like,
When you're performing, are you in your head thinking about doing it right, or are you tapping into subconscious of just knowing how to transition? Right. Like,
Yeah.
like are you sitting there thinking consciously? Because they say there's like the 4 levels of mastery, right? One is when you're doing it wrong and you don't know you're doing it wrong. I think it's like unconscious incompetence. Then there's a level where you know you're doing it wrong. Then there's a level where you're like making yourself do it right, and then there's a level where you just kind of do it right. Just like with driving, like right now,
Yeah.
like sometimes I'm driving and I realize I'm thinking about something and I
Yeah.
just notice myself at the destination. I have no idea how I got
That's
there. It's like,
hypnosis, yeah.
right. Like, are you in that state when you're performing, or are you thinking, because you said you're a micromanager?
Yeah. More and more I'm getting into that. I kind of, I would think it was more like a flow state, right?
Yeah.
More and more I'm getting there. And I would always strive to do that. But yeah, there's definitely like times when I'm in my head of like, make sure you say this because I'm trying to remember a new joke or something. But I feel like the more successful I am on stage at the beginning, the easier I can get into that flow state because I know the audience is with me. And the more encouragement I get from the audience, the looser and freer I become. Because I know that I can't, after a while, I can't fail.
It's like the winner effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you just know you're feeling yourself. Yeah. Like,
That's why I think it's important, like, to hit them early, hit them up front, get them at the beginning, hook them.
The opener should be one you know is going to hit.
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, I think you should always start. What I try to do is I always try to start and end strong.
So you sandwich the new material with proven stuff.
Yeah, I heard an interview with Woody Allen once, which I don't. He's not like a liked person these days, but it's an old interview before he got canceled from like the '60s, and they were asking him. They go, "When do you do a new joke? Is it when things are?" A lot of comedians do it when it's a quiet night and there's not a lot of risk of it being heard by a lot of people. He goes, "Not me. I like to do it Saturday night when everything's great. Give it the best chance." And that's what I kind of like. If I took anything from Woody Allen, and that's the only one thing I will take, is that I try to give the new bit the benefit of the doubt, the best chance.
Right, because if you just do it in some rinky-dink show, if you do it on a Monday night show, then you're almost like you're telling it that it's likely not going to work, or that you're afraid of it now. You're putting that energy into it.
I like that. You're telling it it's not good enough yet. You're telling right. You're telling it you are thinking it's not worthy yet. So, and also it's like you're not even going to get a good read on it because maybe the audience isn't listening, or maybe they're
the Monday night crowd is different than a Friday. Friday 8 is different than Monday 11. Right?
Yeah, it depends on the night, right? But I'm saying like if you're doing it in an open mic and it's all comedians listening to it, they don't even like good jokes sometimes. They're not an accurate audience to test material.
Right, because they're analyzing or they're in their head or whatever. Yeah.
They're thinking about their set that they're going to go on and bomb for 3 minutes because no one's listening to them. So
right.
Yeah.
Man.
I know it's like the open mic. I don't do them anymore. But I went and did one with a friend of mine like a few years ago who's getting into comedy, and I was like, I'll go with you. And I ended up getting up and I did it, and I'm like, dude, that is the hardest set, the hardest type of comedy to do, and you give it to the person with the least experience. I'm like, it's not fair.
That's not even like a real audience. If the audience is just the next 5 open micers and a couple of their friends, like
not even. It's just all comedians. It's all in LA. It's almost always all comedians who have heard every joke, don't want to laugh at yours because they're, like I just said, they're analyzing.
Yeah.
Right? They don't want to laugh at yours because then they feel like they're not funny. And then also, they're not even listening because they're thinking about going up. So,
Yeah.
and they only really laugh at like really shocking, nasty, gross, taboo stuff that normal audiences wouldn't laugh at.
Right. You got to start off with something shocking just to even get their attention.
Right.
What would be, because I know you can't teach the oomph, what would be the most important technical things you would bestow upon a young comic, right? If somebody's out there saying, hey, Eric, I'm going to start my open mic next week.
Yeah.
What should I pay attention to?
Man, I don't know if I've ever come up with a good answer to this question, but I really feel like you know the answer inside of you and just listen to it. A lot of times, like with any career, you go like, should I stay in this? What should I do? And you really know the answer. Like, and that answer is like, if money were not an object, if there were no consequences, what would you do? And I feel like that's the same with any kind of art, with any decision. So I guess that's what I would say.
Draw from that truth.
Yeah.
Almost like, because we have like what we think is a safe idea and the one that's like gets us giggly, like, ooh, it would be kind of wild if I did this, right?
Yeah.
That one.
Yes. And in the artist way, they call that the true north. Yeah.
I need to read that book.
Yeah. You have that book in you already. I feel it. You have a lot of that book in you.
Yeah,
So.
but it's nice. It's nice to reconnect with it, though,
Yeah.
to take my mind through it. Okay, that's great advice, but still,
What would
with
you
that-
say? I want to know what you say since you got the vibe.
I don't know shit about the technical. I'm a fan of comedy.
I'm just a
my
young
advice would be
young
what you
artist.
said. Oh, I mean, for a young artist,
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, well, I guess it'd be specific to video. I would say the three things in video:
Get a DVD player. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
get it in focus, have great audio.
Yes.
I mean, really, number one thing to not fuck up video is audio. Funny enough, when indie videographers have bad audio, you can feel it right away. It's like, they use too much shallow depth of field, where they may try to make the background blurry to make it look cinematic. But really, most movies have a pretty deep focus. That's just like a false part of like fake low end, trying to make it look high end. Is just make it really shallow behind. Yeah, but if it's not perfectly in focus, then it looks really bad. If you have shitty, so it's just like keep the focus good, keep the audio good,
Right.
make it entertaining. Those would be like technical things that I would say. Like
Yeah.
right away, if somebody says they want to work with me and they show me something,
Yeah.
and it's out of focus, I'll stop it right there. I'll be like,
Okay.
okay, cool.
So now that you
Yeah.
say that, I could change my answer to like actual things that you can do in comedy, not just like,
Because your answer was great. That
Yeah.
was like the inspiration behind
Right.
it of like what material should I do?
Right.
But from a technical point,
I would say, don't be a dick. It's like any business. Be like professional. And then like, I thought of another one as you're saying it. Now I forgot. But just be professional. Be patient, and that's something that I wish I would listen to more.
you
I
mean
would've
within
listened
the
to.
set or within the span of the career?
In the span of the career,
Let's talk about the set. In your first few sets.
in your first few sets.
Let's say if somebody didn't take any comedy class, they're just a fan of comedy, they think they have some ideas in their mind, they don't know shit about the technique. What are just some basic, like, hey, I know
Yeah.
that once you learn the
Oh.
rules, you can break the rules. Sure,
Right.
you can have a shot be out of focus. Sure,
Yeah.
if you wanted to, right? But like at a base level.
Yeah, I think like it's really similar with video. Is like have good audio, meaning like know how to hold a mic. You know,
Oh yeah.
a lot of people will hold it like way out here, and some people I'd say it's better like to eat the mic than to be way down here. And a lot of people will move it around and like some of the
They'll
words.
be like, yeah, I have a
Yeah.
joke over here.
I always kind of feel like have one foot on the stage and one foot off the stage, figuratively, meaning like you're on stage, but then also you're not doing a monologue. I know a lot of people call comedy a monologue, but you're doing a dialogue because you're listening back to the audience. So your other foot is in the audience. One foot on the stage, one foot on the audience.
Meaning like if there's like some weird interruption happening in the background, Maybe acknowledge
Yeah.
it. Roll with it.
Right. Like, know what the audience is going through, even before you get on stage, because that can help you with, delivering what you're going to deliver.
Maybe if the room is like super hot, talk about that.
Like acknowledge that. That's called like I call that the truth of the room.
Ooh,
That will
truth of the room.
Yeah, that's gonna help you connect with the audience. That's the first thing that you want to do is connect with the audience, and show them who you are.
So they're like, okay, cool. This guy gets that the situation I'm in. It's the room is too hot, or
Right.
whatever. Or the last comedian, like something that makes me feel like you acknowledge.
You can do that. I mean, it's not like
It's not a
imperative,
must,
but I'm just saying, like, just know, even subconsciously, knowing like what the audience is going through. If you know that the audience is full of, expecting mothers, and you go up there, you're doing
like abortion jokes.
yeah, like those are hard to do anyway. But like, hey, know your audience, know what the room is going through. Like, yeah. I would say, like, connect with your audience is really the positive way of saying it, is like, find a way to connect with the audience. Yeah.
I like that. And as far as preparing a joke, right? Like, I'm even thinking about it, like, if I ever were to on a dare go to do, like, an open micer, right? Like, I'm just thinking about somebody who really has no idea. So, okay, so they're present. They're tapping into their true north. And they have one foot figuratively on stage, one with the crowd, meaning that they're aware of it. They can choose to acknowledge it or not. Maybe they can go right to their bit. Is there like an industry known secret on best way to tag something? I'm trying to think of like what would be the equivalent of it, like on the video side. Like for me, like if somebody was doing like an indie music video or commercial and they could only hire 2 people on the entire crew, it would be like the audio guy and the gaffer.
Right.
Right?
I don't think it's
It would be like,
I don't think it's as defined in live performance as it is for cameras and stuff, because cameras have laws to them.
right.
Cameras have, like, they're dialed in, they have numbers on them, they have, lighting, there's certain Kelvin that works with, right?
Yeah.
For daylight, and something that works with indoor
or
tungsten,
whatever,
right? There's things that are defined. I think in stand-up and in any live performance, it's like really, that's where the magic is like how you interpret it, how you can choose. That's where your paintbrush is,
So then maybe I can dig deeper into questions with you. Then maybe let's talk about, let's say, in their first year of comedy.
Oh, well, what I would say, this is what I was going to say back a few minutes ago was study. Like, you have so many resources that I didn't have when I was starting out. You have podcasts. You have, which is like basically like old green room conversations.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you had to actually be in a room with like Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura to get their wisdom. Now you can listen to their podcast.
Right.
Watch specials. Like, before you could, maybe there was like 5 VHS at Blockbuster you could rent that were like, comedians that you would want to watch. And then, or you had to be in a major comedy market. Now you have so much stuff on video, on YouTube, at your disposal. Go watch live comedy. It's a little different than on stage, than on video. But like, just watch as much as you can. Go analyze as much as you can.
As in, break down why you think it worked. Like, why did that opener work?
Why did that work? Why didn't it work? And then go do it. Like, this comedy is something that you have to do. Get up, no matter where no matter where you live. There's so much more comedy now than ever. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
If you don't have comedy in your town, create it. That's what I did. That's how I started. I put on college dorm shows. When I went to school, I organized open mics at like anyone in the dorm could do whatever town. It was like a talent show. So if you play piano, if you did poetry, if you dance, then I would host the show and do stand-up beginning, in between, and at the end I'd do a longer set. So like,
that's really smart. That's a great way from a building your brand perspective and getting to practice perspective.
Yeah. So create the show. You got to, make it.
Get the reps in.
Yeah.
It sounds like do it often. Like, I think if somebody's going into comedy thinking, I'm either going to kill it or bomb on the first one. It's like, I mean, maybe, but like, if you're not willing to do it for a couple years even, then then you're not even willing to try it, really, because it might take some time to really develop it.
Stand-up is something that you could be horrible at 2 years in, and then I've seen people like, I was this one guy that I know, I watched him 2 years in, I'm like, oh man, he's not going to do it. And then I saw him 2 years later, he was awesome.
Really?
And yeah, he's opened for me many times.
What do you think made the difference in him? You don't have to say his name, but like, why do you think he got better after 2 years?
He practiced. He went up like every single night, and he learned. And
how did he keep getting up if he wasn't that good? People just kept giving him chances. Like he was just good enough to go up one more time.
Yeah, it's forgiving, and that also goes with like be a good person. There's like people that are, I don't even want to criticize anyone's comedy, but there's people that I think are terrible. That what's my opinion? Who cares? Terrible
talent-wise.
Yeah, or like that are just going up and doing stuff that's like, you're like, oh man, God, what are you doing? That, they might create their own way to get up. They have friends that they maybe
they're just really nice people.
Yeah, maybe they're really nice people, and they're just they're not doing something on stage that people are laughing at yet. But you're gonna get. That's the thing is like, I could think you're terrible. Who cares? Keep doing it. As long as you don't think you're terrible, then do it. You know, and you're gonna find your audience, or you're just maybe you won't find your audience. You just are happy going up and doing whatever you do.
And finding the meaning in that, right? Because like we can put meaning in something. Like for example, somebody could go up for a couple years and suck and think it was a waste of time, but not really if they made friends. Not really if they show that they can do something scary and fail and still feel alive.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, that's what everyone says is like, oh, stand-up comedy is like the most scary thing ever because everyone's afraid of public speaking, I guess. But kudos to you, whoever you are as a comedian, getting up on stage and taking that risk and like putting yourself out there in front of people and you're vulnerable by doing it. So, for anyone who gets up on stage, that you got my respect in that respect,
It is vulnerable, especially when you're directly measuring the response of the audience via laughter. Right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering like if that would be, I feel like, it would be scarier than even just doing like a regular speech or a talk. Because people aren't required to laugh on a regular speech or talk.
It.
Right?
Like,
it's like
I'm sitting down and you're going to be funny. That's what it says on the sign.
Right. Yeah, because if you're just giving a talk, like at a business thing or whatever, and you happen to crack a joke, great. But you're not being judged by whether or not they're falling off their chairs. But in comedy, that is the whole point.
Yeah. That's why people come to me and say, oh, I'm really funny. People tell me I should do stand-up because you're at a party and they're not expecting you to be funny. You say something that's like kind of funny and then it becomes funny. But then you go to the Laugh Factory and the contract is you're going to make me laugh and you're a machine.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is a store and I'm bought comedy tonight.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. I feel very privileged here in LA that there's so many great clubs. There's Laugh Factory, there's the Comedy Store, the Improv, Haha, Supernova, Jam in a Van. What else?
There's a new LA comedy. What is it called? California Comedy Club.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's just opened at the Lyric Hyperion. I haven't been over there. There's Flappers in Burbank.
Oh yeah, Flappers. That's right down the street. Yeah.
There's one called Third Wheel. There's so many now. I can't even keep track of them.
I love it. And I think it's so cool that there's comedians that you would otherwise, like if I lived in Kentucky, where I used to live actually, I'd have to see them in a theater show, paying big tickets to see them maybe once a year. But in LA, I can go watch like Sebastian Maniscalco or whoever, you know what I mean, on like a Tuesday for $20.
Yeah.
It's
LA really is. I mean, New York as well, but
oh yeah, they have the Cellar.
Yeah.
What else is over there? That's like the big one, right?
New York Comedy Club. The there's Gotham. Yeah. Caroline's. There's so many. There's like, and the good thing about New York is that they're all in the same area. Like within Manhattan's only 11 miles long, and you got the subway.
Right.
So
you could do multiple clubs a night, not even get in a car. You could just Or maybe just taxi it over a minute or two. Or,
yeah. That's what people do. Some people, like somebody I think set a record and did like 10 or 11 or something like that in one night.
I bet the momentum and the practice of that must be great. Doing that many.
You can work out bits way quicker in New York than in LA. But yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Because in LA you'd have to really go through traffic. For you to do like a set at the Improv and then try to hit the Laugh Factory, they better be like wide apart. You better be opening at 8 and closing at 11 or something.
They're not, actually, those are actually pretty close. Laugh Factory, Laugh Factory Comedy Store and Improv are like in the same square
They're the
mile.
Closest.
Yeah, those are the closest to each other.
And then I guess then Haha or Flappers would be over here. And
yeah, Flappers is Burbank, and then Haha is in North Hollywood. So that's kind of like 4 or 5 miles apart, something like that.
Have you found it difficult dealing with the quote gatekeepers in comedy?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier with like industry of like, you know, I'm not worrying about managers and agents for myself right now because I've just been in situations where it wasn't the right fit. And so I'm just like not concerning myself with it right now.
And usually they're focused on the big fish.
Yeah, but I feel like gatekeepers that were gatekeepers, they're becoming less and less powerful because you can do things yourself. You can release your special on YouTube and, you know, so I think that's in anything in entertainment.
Yeah.
And creativity.
It is all shifting, right? Because before it was like you either had one of the couple HBO specials or a Comedy Central special, and that was it. And the Netflix came around. But even then, now the YouTube comedy is taken really seriously. Like I don't think people, I don't know how snobby it is with actual comedians, but as a fan, it doesn't matter to me if it's on YouTube or Netflix. If it's funny, it's funny. Most of the shit on Netflix ends up on YouTube anyway.
Right?
Right? Like, most comedians release like bit by bit from Netflix, or eventually somebody will leak the whole thing. Like, I watch more things on YouTube than on Netflix, right?
Okay.
So as long as it's filmed decent, you know? Like I remember there was that whole series, what did Ari Shaffir do? The This Is Not Happening
Oh, yeah.
series, right? Where everybody was just performing over at the Cheetahs at the strip club or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, that was great. That was a YouTube series. I think it might have existed on Comedy Central.
I think it was Comedy Central, yeah.
But I saw it on YouTube.
Oh, you did?
A bunch of them are on YouTube. Like,
really?
on their official YouTube channel. Like,
on Comedy
hundreds
Central?
of them.
Okay.
Hundreds of stories, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would be on road trips and I would just hit a playlist and just go and just hear a different comedian give me 10 minutes at a time. And then I'd be like, well, they sound interesting. Then I would like look into them, see if they have an album.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't consider a YouTube comedian less than a Netflix comedian.
Okay.
Because I feel like Netflix big companies are usually behind anyway.
Oh, right.
Like usually, by the time somebody makes it to Netflix,
They're a bigger machine, so they can't move as fast.
or they've already been killing it, right? Like, as in,
Right.
for somebody to make it to Netflix, it's not like somebody sucks and then they go on Netflix and then they become great.
Right.
By the time they go on Netflix, they've already been doing shows. You know what I mean? So I feel like the big streamers are usually behind in what's actually cool.
Okay.
Right.
So YouTube is the new hipster of streaming comedy.
Well, yeah. Like, and imagine how dope it would be, right? Like, for fans that like know you through social media to then eventually you get a Netflix deal. It's like,
Yeah.
he finally got the mainstream validation. But it's like, but you were already cool then. Like, if the shit's funny, it's funny.
It's like when I was listening to hip hop on AM radio, and then it became
Yes. It didn't make it less special because it actually made it more special. As long as the song sounded good. Right? Then I think as an audience, you develop kind of an ownership to it. You're like, I discovered them.
Yeah.
I knew about him before he was on Amazon. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Cool, man. So listen, we've been rocking for like 90 minutes already. You showed
Dang, really?
Yeah. Pearls of wisdom.
Wow, we did it. Well, I had a great time. Yeah, hopefully I did what I was supposed to do and please the Illuminati here. Is this an Illuminati show? I just noticed.
Absolutely. And
It's
now by you
Illuminati.
touching it, you accept the contract and now you're officially a part of the Illuminati.
Oh my God.
And
I have a bit about the Illuminati.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I say, it never works though, but maybe it'll work here. I say, the Illuminati, have you guys heard of it? And they go, yeah. And I go, worst kept secret society ever. They couldn't even pass the first test of secret society. Look, I'll shine it right in you. Shine it in you. Wait, oh, there it is. shining it in your eyes.
Illuminati is a great name, though. I'm surprised a lighting company hasn't taken that name.
Oh, yeah. Maybe they have. You just don't know.
Right?
Am I flaring the lens?
You are. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. So tell people
It's old Illuminati trick.
Tell people where they can find you.
Okay, my website is probably the best jump off, ericschwartzlive.com. That's ERICSCHWARTZ live.com. And then Instagram, Eric Schwartz with 3 E's, EEERICSCHWARTZ. It's pronounced Eric Schwartz.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for coming. And
Thank you for having me.
Do you have a name for your special? I know you haven't taped it yet. But
I do, but I can't tell you yet.
You can't tell yet? Okay,
Yes.
so if you're in the LA area, August 21st.
I will say, all I can say, I'll give you a hint, and it'll make sense when it comes out. But this special's my baby. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope it comes to full term.
All right.
And we get to see it.
Okay.
My guy.
Cool, man.
Nice to
Thank
meet you
you so
officially,
much.
man. This was great.
Oh yeah, whoa. Look, they can never keep me down, I'm going. And if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up. I bet when I land, they gon' tell me it's luck again. See that I'm winning, it's harder to watch. I'm setting the stage, you should give me my props. You ain't got no soul, you lacking the spirit. You talk out your neck, I'ma show you I'm with it. I would really hate for you to sit and watch me win again and win again and win again. I know it's probably getting on me.